We've now started recording the webinar, so any questions that you do have, we will answer at the end of the webinar verbally rather than just type them into the question and answer field. So, as I said, we're going to have a PowerPoint presentation and then we're going to follow that up with questions and answers at the end. More people will join us as we go through the presentation, and fingers crossed everything goes smoothly. I know there's a lot of demand on Zoom at the moment because everyone is self-isolating, and I firstly want to say I hope you're all keeping safe and healthy in this process, and hopefully over the few following weeks while we deliver more webinars, you'll have the chance not to miss out on opportunities across Europe, because fingers crossed, all being well, enrolments are happening as planned in September. So without any further ado, let's get on with the PowerPoint, and we'll go through that with you, and hopefully you'll enjoy what we're going to talk about and enjoy looking at the videos, and then at the end we'll have some time for a freer conversation. Okay, so today's presentation is going to specifically focus on studying medicine at the University of Nicosia in Cyprus. A few things about this. This is Nicosia in Cyprus, as in the EU mandated part of Cyprus, and it's right in the center of Nicosia, the capital city, about a 45-minute drive from the main airport, which is Larnaca. And I've visited this university before. It's a very convenient location, and in terms of studying for the next 6 years of your life, perhaps has some advantages over perhaps some other destinations. We'll talk very initially about Medical Doorway, who we are, what we do, and then we're going to introduce the university as a whole, because when we talk about studying medicine, we're talking about studying at a university, not simply a medical school. We will get on to the medical school, and we're going to discuss various aspects of the medical school. We're going to look at facilities, we're going to look at what it's going to cost, the scholarships that are available, what the admission criteria are, and how they're managing that in this unprecedented year due to the cancellation of A-level and IB exams. Then we're going to discuss curricula, and also there are some unique aspects of the curriculum at the University of Nicosia which gives students kind of broader opportunities than perhaps if they chose another place to study. And then we're going to talk about the application and selection process, which for this particular university is very streamlined, very efficient, and it's pretty easy for students to negotiate. And as I said, then we'll have some time for questions. So a little bit about Medical Doorway. We are here to listen to you, whether you're a parent, student, or careers counsellor. We work with 18 different universities across Europe, and out of those universities, there are some which perhaps fit some students better than others. And our job is to listen to you and help find the best fit if studying medicine outside of your home country is the right decision for you. Those fits depend on your academics, what you're looking for from a university experience, and obviously your budget for tuition fees and living costs, because those are three major factors which determine which universities are going to be the right ones for you. When we are looking at the fees and things, what we have to bear in mind is that if you're a British student studying in the UK, your fees are subsidised and you've got a student loan available. If you're an international student coming to study in the UK, the fees are substantially more expensive. In this presentation and in the other webinars that we're going to be conducting over the few weeks, when we're talking about the fees are going to be the same for everyone, regardless of nationality. So there's not going to be different fee levels depending on your nationality or passport you carry. So while the fees might seem more expensive for some students, for other students they will seem significantly cheaper than perhaps the UK, using the UK as a benchmark. So after this presentation, I definitely advise liking our Facebook page, perhaps our Instagram feed, and definitely our YouTube channel. The reason for that is this video and a number of the other videos are published there as well, and we always update our blogs, etc., and publish them to our Facebook page, meaning that you don't have to constantly go to and from the Medical Doorway website. You'll automatically get updated if we have a new video or a new Facebook post or a new Instagram post, and that can then direct you to perhaps relevant information you need from the Medical Doorway website. So after this, definitely do that. You'll find a lot more information there that will help you kind of navigate your way to the information that perhaps that you want. But without any further ado, let's get straight in and let's look at the University of Nicosia and what they offer for you as a student.
Imagine a university with more than 11,000 students from over 70 countries. with a vibrant urban campus of 18 modern buildings and presence in 18 other cities worldwide. With over 100 diverse programs of study. With a leading medical school in cooperation with St. George's University of London and joint degrees with top European universities. Imagine a university with global leadership in innovative fields, pioneering online programs, and inspiring alumni who excel on the world stage. Think of how much you can achieve here. Welcome to the largest university in Cyprus. Welcome to the University of Nicosia.
Okay, so studying at Nicosia is not like going just to a medical school. You are studying an extremely large university which teaches primarily in English, the largest in Southern Europe teaching in English. Now, Cyprus, because of its history, has a large English fluent population. About 80% of the population of Cyprus are fully fluent in English. So if you're looking for somewhere that is predominantly English speaking, as well as Greek, obviously, then this would definitely be a destination which you would want to put at the top of your list when looking for a medical school. It's not the cheapest one, as we'll look at, but what you get for the tuition fees are amazing facilities and some of the best student residences you've ever seen. In fact, when we get to the student residences, most students are blown away by the offer of the university. It is the #1 medical school in Cyprus and was originally set up in collaboration with St. George's University of London. So there's a huge amount of influence from UK medical school curricula on the curricula at Nicosia. In fact, there are actually 2 degrees taught at the university, one for school leavers and one for graduates. And we'll talk about both of those programs, although the focus for today is predominantly the 6-year program for school leavers. But it's not just a medical school, like I said, it's a multi-faculty university with research centres, with various different degrees and master's degrees and PhDs, etc. So you're going to be part of a much bigger student cohort, rather than just the medical students that perhaps you might socialise with at perhaps some other universities where medicine may be the only English taught programme. The facilities are spectacular, as well as the main building, which you saw at the end of that video, where there's the amphitheatre where they do graduation ceremonies, etc. You've got a huge library, main library, and then additional to that, you've got the spectacular medical school library, which is in the medical school site. In the same site as where the anatomy lab is. And I've been to the anatomy lab, and it is an impressive facility which most medical schools across the world would aspire to be equal to. Quite early into your curriculum, you will be learning clinical skills, and there's a dedicated clinical skills lab where you will also have, for example, things like OSCE exams, etc. So if you really are a hands-on learner, this is perhaps a great university to consider as your destination. Outside of that, you've got various facilities away from the academic. You've got an amazing gym and, like I said, student residences. And if you just look at the picture there on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll notice that the residences have swimming pools, etc. So in terms of quality of life, this offers you an exceptional quality of life in addition to an exceptional education. And you have to balance both of those things when you're going to be studying in one place for the next 6 years. The student residences are brand new, and some of them are literally just opening this year, considered some of the best in Europe. And there are going to be studio apartments, rooftop bungalows, all with dedicated restaurants, gyms, even a rooftop infinity swimming pool. As a medical student, you are guaranteed accommodation in the facilities in Nicosia, which is a great stress reliever compared to perhaps studying in London or another major UK city, where you then move out of student accommodation and are having to commute across a busy town once the towns are in full swing. At the moment, commuting wouldn't be much of an issue, but at the moment there are no lessons going on. So there's a great opportunity, really, not just to study at a fantastic university, but to have a really true Mediterranean lifestyle. And as well as see a lot of the island as well. Cyprus, and we'll talk a bit more about Cyprus as a destination later on, but you've got beaches, you've got mountains, you've got villages. There's a lot of opportunities to get out and see the island while you're studying across the whole 6 years in this European Union country. The medical school has 2 degrees, like I explained. We've got the 6-year MD, which is delivered and accredited by the Cypriot authorities, by the University of Nicosia. In addition to that, for graduates who have taken the GAMSAT or the MCAT, there is the opportunity to do a 4-year degree awarded by St. George's University of London. So you've got on one hand a 6-year Cypriot degree, and on the other hand a 4-year British degree for graduates. Doctors are in demand across the world, not just in these times of great clinical need, but in most developed economies in the world, there is a shortage of doctors, and that is caused by an increasingly aged population and changes to medical technology, putting more demands on healthcare services. Now, the University of Nicosia has identified that its degree offers students an amazing opportunity to take their career around the world, and they set up collaborations with hospitals all over the world, as well as just in Cyprus, to allow students to go and practice overseas and then take their career perhaps to Australia, to the UK, to the USA, Canada, etc. So regardless of which perhaps country you want to study in, which country you want to practice in, the University of Nicosia offers a pathway to that. There are some restrictions in some countries. So if you're on this webinar from Singapore, there are various restrictions about going to practice immediately after graduation there. So what I would say, where if you're dialing in from somewhere that's perhaps you don't know the acceptance of degrees from Europe, do check out with your local medical council before you then apply. Even when there's not a direct recognition immediately, there are often pathways to recognition that we can talk about, but that's going to vary from one place to the other. But ultimately, this is an EU degree recognized in the US, across the across the EU, Canada, and the UK. And there are graduates from the university employed across the UK, but also in the US as well. And there even are now links to hospitals in the US for students to do clinical practice after they've completed the degree in Cyprus. So you will get an MD degree, 6 years in length, of which the first 5 years are considered the clinical years or preclinical clinical years, and then the 6th year is considered a full internship year. And that's the standard model in Europe and the UK, where the 6th year is considered like a foundation year or an internship year of training. It's been running for 6 years, so there are graduates coming out this year from the 6-year program, but there have been graduates coming out of the 4-year program for a few years now. And it is listed on the UK GMC website. If you go to Cyprus on the GMC website, it's there by name. It's also in the World Directory of Medical Schools, so students are eligible to apply to take the USMLE exams and get that level of recognition as well. Now, the biggest question I get from school leavers is, what is the admissions criteria? We're going to talk about the selection process in a minute, but if you're thinking about applying, you really want to know what the university are looking for academically. For most of our A-level students, they're applying with 2 sciences, mainly always biology, okay? They will accept biology plus 1 other science as part of the 3 A-level profile, and that does include maths as well, okay? So biology plus chemistry, physics, or maths plus another subject. Now, conditional offers are made at an ABB. So if you can imagine how things work in the UK, after your interview, you get your conditional offer, and then you're aiming for that grade. On results day, it's going to be up to the university if they still accept you, if perhaps you don't quite meet the terms of that offer. And that would be the case in Nicosia as well. So the procedure itself is very similar to applying to the UK, except the timelines are different. But when you receive an A-level offer, it will be ABB. For IB candidates, which make up a large proportion of the students that we're dealing with, and we have students from some of the IB schools in Hong Kong studying at the University of Nicosia at the moment, the standard offer will be 32 points overall, with 16 at the higher level. Biology plus 1 other science is going to be mandatory at the higher level. We do have applicants applying with American high school leaving certificates, and the average they're looking for is 90%, with similar grades in biology and then chemistry, maths, or physics. For non-native speakers who perhaps haven't got GCSEs, then we are looking at 6.5 overall. Okay. Just had a question come up on the screen, so we'll deal with that one in a short while. but we are looking at 6.5 overall in IELTS. But if you're taking the IB or you have GCSEs, you can be exempted from that English language requirement, or if you're from a country where they were considered native speakers of English. So curriculum-wise, we are looking at a 6-year degree. There is, however, compared to most universities in Europe, there is an option to leave after year 4. So the first 4 years would be considered the preclinical years. However, students will be immersed in the clinical environment from year 2. So students will get hands-on clinical experience at year 2. The curriculum is also directly mapped against the United States medical licensing exams. So as well as going through these 4 years, you're getting prepared for step 1 of the USMLE exams. Now, step 1 is the very first exam that a student would take who is seeking accreditation to work in the United States. There will be 2 other exams to take before that student can then apply for full accreditation and recognition for going into residency matching. But the curriculum is matched to get through this first theoretical exam, which is taken online, and that would be a student would have the opportunity of taking that exam after the 4th year of the program. So if you are a student considering going to work in the USA after your degree, this perhaps would be one of the universities you would consider as a first choice, because they are specifically preparing you to take that exam. There is a broad background in the sciences, which starts very didactically in year 1 and then moves through to a much more problem-orientated curriculum as you get through the program. But for those students who perhaps get to year 4 and are really not thinking medicine is not the right route for them, they can exit at that point with a Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Sciences, which is something which many other medical schools don't give you the option of doing. So there's definitely something perhaps is a good exit point for a student who's perhaps not, who has changed their trajectory on where they want to go with their career. Years 5 and 6 are predominantly clinical, year 6 being wholly clinical, of which state exams happen at that period. And at the end of that, the student will be awarded an MD degree, licensed as a doctor in Cyprus, with the opportunity to take that degree around the world for their their career moving forward. From a clinical perspective, it's very important, especially if students are looking at having an international career, to really focus on universities that offer exceptional clinical education. Now, the University of Nicosia has links with all of the major hospitals, public and private, in Cyprus, the biggest being in Nicosia and Limassol. But in addition to that, they've set up links with hospitals in the United States, and students can, in the final parts of their program, predominantly year 6, take clinical placements in the United States as well, to perhaps get that international experience if they're thinking about going to work in the USA. In addition, for UK students, and at the moment EU students, but we're going to have to see how negotiations with the European Union goes over the next 12 months once they restart, there is the opportunity for students to do clinical training in years 5 and 6 in the NHS in the UK. So for those British students or students looking to articulate to the UK after they've graduated, this would be a great opportunity if you've got the citizenship rights to be able to do that. In terms of tuition, once students are admitted and they have to pay tuition fees, this is where things get interesting, because there are scholarship opportunities as well. But without a scholarship, students will be paying €18,000 per year for the first 3 years and €22,000 per year for the more clinical years, years 4, 5 and 6. The university does allow payment by multiple instalments. So you can pay in monthly instalments across the course of each semester, which works out at 8 payments per academic year. Students are then strongly advised to apply for the scholarship, and details on how to apply for the scholarship are sent out once an offer has been received. Students can receive a scholarship in increments of 5% up to 20%, and that sticks for the full 6 years of the course. So if a full 20% scholarship is granted, the fees would come down to roughly €14,500 per year for the first 3 years, and then €17,500 roughly for the 3 years after. Now, what I would say about this is definitely apply for the scholarship. Now, why these fees may look expensive if you're a British student looking to study in the UK, if you're an international student, a non-EU international student looking to study in the UK, you could expect to pay over €40,000 a year to study in London, as well as obviously the living costs associated with that. This marks a significant cost saving compared to studying medicine in the UK for an international student. In addition, the facilities you're getting and the quality of life you're getting as well is perhaps another boon for you, because there'll be a lot of opportunities for you as an international student here, because this course is set up for international students rather than you being an add-on to domestic students on a program, say, in the UK. The other thing is the deadlines are completely different as well. Unlike if you're applying to the UK through UCAS, where your deadline is the 15th of October, this is a rolling admission process with interviews starting in November of the preceding academic year. So for those students who are looking to enter in September 2020, interviews have been going on since November. But the important thing is applications are still open, and we do receive applications and offers for students who are getting their IB results in July or their A-level results in August as well. So unlike in the UK, where the 15th of October is that definitive deadline, that is not the case with applying to the University of Nicosia. We've received applications this morning as well, which we'll be processing once this webinar is concluded, and interviews then go on over a rolling basis. Making the application takes around about 10 minutes. And once we've made the application on the Medical Doorway website, and when this video is uploaded to YouTube, the link to this will be in the description, we will then get in contact with you regarding paperwork that we need. If you're a student who's already got your grades, already got your certificates, we would ask for a copy of those. If not, we will then ask for a reference letter from your school. And that then means we can confirm your eligibility with the university, and they will say, yes, this student would be shortlisted for interview. Once we've got eligibility, it's only at that point which you pay the application fee. The application fee to the university is €60. There's no fee at all charged by Medical Doorway. You can pay us the application fee and we can pay the university on your behalf, or alternatively, you can pay the application fee direct to the university. Once that's been paid, once your eligibility has been confirmed, you will then be given a date for an online video interview, which is considered what's called a remote MMI, multi-mini interview procedure. Now that interview is recorded on Zoom, like we're discussing this webinar today. And in that, you will be given different questions, and you'll be given 5 minutes to address each question. And it's the full 5 minutes. So the clock will start, and then you've got 5 minutes to discuss your answer to that question. Now, it will be the full 5 minutes. So if you finish after 2.5 minutes, you will be given the other 2.5 minutes to either do nothing or to continue to address that particular question. Now, when this video is recorded during your online interview, it is then separated on a question by question basis. And those questions are assessed by a different member of the team at the university. So there's a more comprehensive assessment of your performance. This makes it critically important that if you need to repeat yourself from an earlier question to a later question, that you do so. You won't be penalized for repeating yourself because the questions are assessed by a different assessor. So do not be afraid of repeating yourself if you're having to do so to reinforce one of your arguments in the questions. Most students do not find this form of interview particularly onerous, but there are lots of free resources, and I can point you to many of those free resources once the application's in and you've been shortlisted for interview. But by this stage, your offer, whether it be conditional or unconditional, is made now on the strength of this particular interview. Because to get to this, the university have already assessed your eligibility and then will make a relevant offer after they've had the feedback from the examiners. One thing is, the program at the University of Nicosia, the 6-year program, doesn't require you to have taken UCAT or BMAT like you would perhaps if you've applied to programs in the UK. This is going to be purely now based after this particular interview on how you perform on A-level or the IB. Now, as a note of that, the university are currently looking at how they're going to be assessing candidates in light of the cancellation of IB and A-level exams in 2020. So we do advise students, once we've got in contact with you, to send us all the paperwork that you've got, including any school transcripts, including GCSEs, because there's going to be a much more comprehensive assessment of your academic performance in terms of how they make offers. But obviously we are aware that A-level candidates are going to receive their A-levels in some form. For IB candidates, if you have a transcript from your school or your school also offers an additional diploma, that will be considered as well as what happens with IB results when they do get released. But aside of that, instead of studying, there are lots of opportunities to really have a great 6 years in Cyprus. It's one of the safest countries in the world, with some spectacular coastline, a rich history, great cities, amazing food actually, so you're not going to struggle that way. But you can also get involved in other clinical activities in the 6 years. The university has a mobile clinic which goes around the island dealing and offering healthcare to people in poverty, people in dire need, refugees, etc. So that'll be a chance for you to see the island, as well as using your newly acquired skills to develop your profile and giving something back to the community in which you're studying. As a matter of fact, there are students across Europe at the moment, medical doorway students, who have stayed in their countries where they're studying to offer their knowledge and skills to the local healthcare services at this time of need. But this is something which happens regularly at the University of Nicosia, and it's something which will help you develop your clinical skills, as well as giving you something extra to add to your CV. But in those 6 years of life in Cyprus, do make the most of it. Even perhaps going outside of Cyprus in your vacation periods. I was in Egypt in December in Cairo, a 1 hour, 20-minute flight from Larnaca. So there's lots of opportunity to see the world in the Middle East and North Africa in your vacation periods if you're based in Cyprus.
In this curriculum, we have merged tradition with innovation. You will benefit from an original curriculum that was developed by using the most updated research in medical education.
From my first day here, the people of Cyprus have been really warm and welcoming. That's why I felt immediately at home. The program is extremely organized and has a competitive student body. It is really easy for international students to adapt because we get a lot of support from all the school staff.
It's a 6-year course, predominantly for school leavers, starting fairly didactically with the basic sciences underpinning medicine, and ending up with almost full-time practical exposure to patients undergoing investigation and treatment in hospitals.
Within the first few weeks, we were already immersed in the world of science, not only by learning a multitude of new diverse topics, but also by delving deeper into any previously acquired knowledge from school. This, coupled with dedicated, caring, and helpful faculty members, eased the transition from high school to university-level maturity and professionalism.
We're not only given knowledge at our lectures, but we're also exposed to the clinical setting as early as the first year of our education. That is instrumental in educating future doctors who can relate their knowledge to actual medical practice at every step of the way.
The school is affiliated with the 2 largest hospitals of the country for your clinical attachments. These 2 hospitals have got a joint capacity of more than 900 beds and provide the vast majority of clinical specialties and services.
Accredited by the Evaluation Committee of Private Universities of the Cyprus Ministry of Education and Culture and listed in the World Directory of Medical Schools. The curriculum is mapped to the topics of the United States Medical Licensing Exam Step 1, an international benchmark that ensures the offering of a high-quality program that meets the highest international standards.
What I find exciting about the specific program is that at the end of our course, we have opportunities in both Europe and USA. Having classmates with nationalities spanning from Iceland to South Africa, one can easily see the benefits and how it helps the students grow in different aspects, not just academically.
The international atmosphere that both the city and the University of Nicosia provided me with was one of excitement and to learn about new cultures, an integral part of becoming a doctor.
Our spacious anatomy lab and clinical facilities are ideal for studying medicine because we teach with the best medical mannequins, models, and equipment. This allows our students to study medicine in a very realistic environment from expert medical professionals.
Our ultimate goal is to help you develop the multiple skills required for good medical practice. We look forward to welcoming you to Nicosia and the Doctor of Medicine program.
So one thing that comes across in the video is there's a very international faculty as well as student body. So you'll notice there are members of faculty there, as well as from Cyprus, as well as from Cyprus, but also from Canada, the US, and the UK as well. Before we move on to question and answers, I'm just going to flash up our contact details, but I think most of you would have them or be able to find us relatively easily. And then we're going to show you how to make an application, and then we'll deal with any of the question and answers which have been made during the presentation, as well as any that you've got now. After this, if there's a question that comes to your mind later on, please do drop us an email to hello@medicaldoorway.com or get in contact with us on our Facebook page, etc. We'll be able to reply to you quickly. Anyway, we're continually working from home, etc. While this current period of social distancing and lockdown is going on. So there's no problems at all in getting in contact with us whatsoever. So please, medicaldoorway.com is our website. You're going to go there in a moment and see how to make an application. You can email me directly at ben@medicaldoorway.com or hello@medicaldoorway.com. If you call the office number, it's automatically being diverted to mobile phones at the moment, so it will get answered. If it doesn't get answered immediately, we will definitely call you back. Alternatively, you can get in contact with us through Facebook at our Facebook page and identify, or if you've got any questions you want to ask, pop them on there as well, and we'll certainly get back to you. Just to go through how to make the application, if you do go to medicaldoorway.com, here's the website. Okay, here is the website. Let's pull that up now. There we go. Here's the website eventually. And you'll notice that on the home page here, there's different ways you can get to where you want to get to. If you want more information about the University of Nicosia, you can click on universities and then find the University of Nicosia, which is here under Cyprus, and that will take you to the University of Nicosia page. One of the videos that you've just seen, etc., will be there as well. The internet connection's a bit slow with the streaming at the moment, so we'll have to wait, but here it comes. There we go. In terms of making an application, there are two ways to make the application or navigate to the application page. One is you can click on the tab here, Apply Now, or you can click directly to the application form here. If you click on the Apply Now tab, you'll notice all of the universities you work with have a link to their application form. The University of Nicosia is right here. You can click on that, Apply Now, and then fill in this form here. You can upload a copy of your passport, but you don't need to, but we do need details of your passport because they're required for the application when you submit it. So you can click fill in this form here, very easy to fill in, nothing should be very challenging. A little bit of information about your A-levels or IB or whatever school curriculum you're taking. I would ask, do write down your predicted grades if you can in there, if you are aware of them. If you're a graduate, information here as well. And then once you've hit submit, that will come through to our team and we will deal with the application very quickly and then work with the university to ensure that you've got the eligibility. And if you've got the eligibility, then worked with the university to get you to an agreed date for your video interview. And then fingers crossed, if everything goes smoothly, you will have a conditional offer, meet the terms of your conditions, and you can then start your first step to a career in medicine at the University of Nicosia this September if you're a final year high school student. Okay, right, so on the basis of that, we are now going to deal with some of the questions. We've currently got 6 questions, so everyone can get an answer to the question. We'll answer them live on this video. And I won't actually give you any. I won't give you any details away in terms of everyone's identity, etc. Okay. So, what are the requirements for a Kenyan student applying with O levels on the KCSE? Usually, you would need an A-level equivalent curriculum. What I would do in this particular case is I would speak to the university directly. So, if you can send me, whoever the student is from Kenya taking the KCSE, if you can send me information on your application form, then I will open up conversations with the university as well. And then I can get back to you on an individual basis because it's quite a specific answer that, and there aren't many Kenyan applicants who have this particular question. So we'll deal with that on an individual basis once your application is in. Okay. From year 1 to year 2, what are the requirements? Yeah, the program is modular, so each module will have a set passing level. Now, I don't know the specifics about whether they grade it on an ordinal scale or a percentage scale, but what is quite clear is you will know at the outset what is required of you in the various modules to progress from year 1 to year 2, much in the same way as any degree would be. And that's the thing to recognize, is that you are studying a degree much like any other. It's just that some of your assessments will be more practical while some will be more theoretical. But basically, you do have to, in most medical programs, you have to pass all of your modules to progress from year 1 to year 2. With the University of Nicosia, it has very, very high ratio of staff to students. So there is going to be a lot of opportunity to speak to staff while you go through your degree, and the staff will be guiding you through that process. So please do not ever be concerned about hiding away. If you're struggling with something, it's always better to ask. And in medicine, this is something, when I used to teach physiotherapy students, we'd always make sure students ask, because it's more than just the knowledge. You will be dealing with people at some point. So please, if you are struggling, do shout. Very few students don't progress through the academic years, because medical students want to get that qualification at the end and driven to get that qualification. And the staff are there to fully support you through that. So you will have to pass all the exams, you will have to meet the minimum required standards, and in medicine that can be quite onerous, but most students do get through with that, because that ultimately is what you want at the end of your degree. For IB Maths, there's no specific requirement, actually. Basically, it's as long as there is a maths qualification. You don't actually need maths on the IB. Maths at the higher level, you will need to have biology plus one other science, which can include maths in this. So unlike some universities, especially in the US, etc., which are being quite specific on the maths, that's not the case for this particular program. Do you have to have citizenship in the UK, US if you want to do clinical experience there? This is an anonymous answer, okay? The anonymous attendee, should I say, do you have citizenship? If you want to go to the UK and do the clinical placement in the UK, at this moment in time, you would need citizenship of the UK or EU. That might change at the end of this calendar year, and it may be only open to UK students. For the US, it actually doesn't matter what your nationality is. Everyone is given the opportunity, as it stands today, to do the clinical placements in the US, regardless of your nationality. Okay. Do I have data on the number of students I have from Africa? I don't have data, unfortunately. I don't have that information here. Okay. What I will do is I will ensure I'll try and find out from the university, but at the moment this year, we actually do have applicants from Africa. We've got applicants from South Africa and also from Mozambique as well, who are actually progressing through to interview and offer. Do African students tend to come back home after their medical practice? It's really up to you where you want to practice. This is a European qualification, so it's recognized across the EU, and it's even recognized in the UK. If you've not got a citizenship to the UK or a UK passport or an EU passport, then you would have to go through the processes of migration. And in the UK specifically, we are introducing a new NHS visa, which is fast tracking people who've got NHS jobs. And that process apparently is meant to take about 2 weeks. So yes, you could go back to Africa, or you could decide to take your career somewhere else as well, provided you're able to negotiate through the immigration rules of that particular country once you've secured a job. The thing with medicine is it is a sought after career. So you will find there are more doors open to you as a non-citizen of one particular country when you've got a recognised medical qualification. Can I use UK student finance? Unfortunately, no. UK student finance will not allow you to study outside of the UK and take that finance with you. Other countries do allow that. Unfortunately, the UK doesn't, so you would have to be paying the fees and living costs yourself, usually through parental sponsorship or inheritance, which is what most students do as they go through the course. The presentation will be on YouTube. After this, it's being recorded and it will be uploaded to YouTube. So just please bear with me while I get that done, but it will happen. Do I have to learn Greek? You will have the opportunity to learn Greek. Cyprus is 80% English fluent, but you will have the opportunity to learn Greek as you go through the course. That is part and parcel of living in another country and becoming kind of more integrated with their local culture. But you don't have to learn it to apply to the university, and you will have opportunity to learn Greek while you're there living in Cyprus. For students with American-style diploma, is it correct that students should take biology and other sciences and maths at the advanced AP level? Do students need to submit SAT scores? You don't need SAT scores, no. In fact, APs are not mandatory, okay? What we're looking for, what they'll be looking for is 80% attendance, 90% average on your American high school diploma, including in the subjects of biology and the other sciences. Are there any other loans or help we can get to pay the tuition fees for UK students? Unfortunately, no. The UK is one of those countries which doesn't actually provide student finance, and there are no loan schemes available in Cyprus. Students do have to bring the funding with them. We have some students coming from Sweden, from Norway, from the Netherlands, who have some form of student finance with them. We have Canadian students who apply for student finance on the basis of the province that they're living in. Some of our universities do qualify for US finance as well. I don't think Nicosia does in this particular case, but unfortunately, that is not going to be an option for a UK student. Someone said, what are my chances of admission? That's going to depend on your application and what your grade stroke predicted grades are. So once you've made the application, we will then be able to look at that and then determine if you will be eligible for the interview or not. Do I understand no common entrance test like BMAT or UCAT is required? Yeah, for the 6-year MD straight from high school, you do not need BMAT, you do not need UCAT. An offer is made on the strength of your grades stroke predicted grade. So you don't need either of those for the 6-year program. If you're a graduate applying for the 4-year program, then you would need the GAMSAT, and the entry criteria are identical to the program delivered by St. George's University in London. Someone said, how does the UK leaving the EU affect the registration? It doesn't affect it as much as what many people may believe. The UK GMC is introducing a new licensing exam called the Medical Licensing Assessment, which will be implemented in 2022-2023. It has changed slightly. It was initially meant to be implemented in 2019, but that was put back. That's an exam, or 2 exams, which is going to be sat by every British medical graduate from the UK as well. At this moment in time, it would appear that EU graduates will have to take that exam. That may change depending on if the UK continues to recognise the licensing exams, which are part of your European qualification. So the degree will still be recognised in the UK. You're still going to have the chance for the clinical placements in the UK, provided you've got a British passport, and then you will have the opportunity to bring that qualification back to the UK. The reason the UK is introducing the NHS visa is because we desperately need doctors and other health professionals from overseas, because we don't simply have enough in the UK to cater to the demand on our healthcare services. Ratio of number of students applying that get accepted. I would say the vast majority of the applicants who do get through the MMI, because they are already prepared for that, will have the opportunity of getting an offer. Where most students have fallen foul in the past is not so much the interview, but is in what their eventual grades are when they are accepted, when they are published in July or August, depending on the curriculum that you're taking. But most of our applicants who have applied with their correct predicted grades have received an offer, because they've prepared for the MMI, because most of them have applied to UK medical schools and perhaps have been through a similar process before. Ever my questions are based on medicine or general culture. It can be a variety of things. MMIs can even ask you to give instructions on how to open a box or unwrap a parcel, and they're looking at how you react under pressure. Some of the questions will not have right or wrong answers. They're looking at how you formulate arguments based on a question that you may be given. And that's more to determine how you address a question, not on what your eventual answer would be. They can vary based on one question to the other. So it's going to look at different aspects of how you deal with perhaps knowledge or problem solving, as well as your overall kind of approach to addressing questions or personality, etc. Can you transfer from Nicosia to a medical university in another country? midway through the course. Transferring from one country to another is very, very difficult to do, and that's mainly because there are curriculum misalignments between different programs. And if you went to a program, say in Hungary or the Czech Republic, you would have to have passed the local language modules in that particular country. So you won't have that in your profile. And that's often where people who are looking at transfers don't actually succeed. And I would say, if you're thinking about a transfer, I would say don't focus very much on getting through the 6 years at the university you're in. And where we have dealt with transfers in the past, usually it's within country transfers from one university in one country to another university in the same country. Is it correct that the last 2 years of the HRMD course require students to speak Greek? You will have basic Greek by this stage, but you're not required to speak Greek. 80% of Cyprus is English fluent, and you will always have qualified doctors who are bilingual anyway. Where a patient doesn't speak English, and which is the minority in Cyprus, if a student doesn't speak English, there will be a Greek speaker who's a doctor with you, and they can provide everything through translation as well. So if you will know some Greek, and living in Cyprus, it's a great opportunity to learn an amazing language like Greek. But you won't necessarily have to speak it to patients all the time during your program, unless your competence in Greek is such that you can then go ahead and do it. And in that case, great, but you will be supervised at all times in that process. I will graduate at 16 years old. Is there an age requirement to apply to university? Most students should be 18 years old entering medical school in Europe, and that's usually a requirement for visas as well as for medical studies. So please, most students who are looking at this will be 18 years of age, and that's what's definitely about, or 18 years in their first year of study if they're a 17-year-old. So definitely you need to be looking at applying once you are 18. Does a 6th year of the MD program count as the first foundation year? So after graduating from Nicosia, you can move straight onto F2. In theory, yes, that is the case. The 6th year would be considered the equivalent of F1 or FY1 in the UK. So you would have a full license to practice and then can apply for a job at an FY2 level. What I do say, though, is the vast majority of students who are articulating back to the UK after qualifying overseas, and this is not specific to Nicosia, do opt to take an FY1 job to allow for a process of transition to the NHS system, because it's quite a unique healthcare system. The issue with Nicosia is if you've done some of those clinical placements in the UK, you may have enough knowledge and skills to be able to go straight into FY2, and you may feel comfortable with that. But most of the graduates that we deal with opt to go for an FY1 job to allow for a period of transition. Some of the hospitals do require that anyway, to allow so they can monitor you closer as an FY1 doctor. So while it is possible, do be aware that you may end up effectively studying for an extra year to allow for a more smoother transition back to the NHS if you were thinking about coming back to the UK. If you're looking at the USA, you will enter residency as any graduate would do anyway. And then last question at the moment, are there vacations to go back to your native country during the pre-clinical years? Yes, you get your Easter vacation. Okay, the Easter vacation, however, is based not on the Roman Catholic or the Protestant Easter, but on the Orthodox, the Greek Orthodox Easter, and that varies from one year to the next. And sometimes it can be, just 1 week out, sometimes the same week, sometimes it can be a longer, quite a distinct period away. 1 year, there was a 4-week difference between the Orthodox Easter and the Western Easter. Also Christmas vacation and summer vacations as well. So yes, and even in the clinical years, you do get vacations as well, but the academic year will change slightly from 1 year to the next, as it does in most medical programs across Europe. Do you get paid in the 6th year? No, you are actually paying the tuition fees in the 6th year. And this is the case for all universities across Europe. You will do a full 6-year program, which each year there are tuition fees payable. So in the 6th year, your fees without a scholarship will still be €22,000 per year, because it's officially considered still part of your education. And they're paying the clinical tutors for that period in the 6th year as well. So full 6 years, full tuition fees across the 6 years. Are there any pre-MD programs? Now, this is not a pre-med program. This is an actual medical program. If you want to prepare for this program, then looking at an A-level equivalent program, if you're not coming from a system that educates you up to A-level standard. If you do a pre-med degree, then you can apply for the 4-year graduate entry program. So that would take you, if you did a 3-year pre-med degree or a 4-year pre-med degree, you would then study for 7 or 8 years, depending on the program that you went for, which would mean that you would then have the opportunity to do your medical degree on the 4-year graduate entry program. So 1 or 2 years longer than perhaps if you studied the 6-year program. If you went straight from the pre-med degree into this 6-year program, obviously then we're extending your studies by some substantial way. So if you are looking at doing a pre-med first, perhaps look at the 4-year program rather than the 6-year program. Okay. So at the moment, we've dealt with all of the questions there. Okay, so yeah, this is to do with the 16, being 16, yes. Okay, so basically, if you did a pre-med degree, yeah, if you are going to be waiting 1 year, or if you did a pre-med degree, a first degree from 16 up until, say, 18, 20, or 18, 19, then you could still apply for the 4-year program. But that would have to be a recognized degree allowing you entry to the graduate entry program. What I would say is if you are 16 and a half years old, because you're young when you're graduating from school, do use that time to develop a more broader clinical profile for yourself by doing voluntary work, etc., or as well as securing further finance to fund your studies. Okay, we've dealt with all of the questions. If there's any more questions, please do ask them now. In the next 5 minutes, we'll probably can close the webinar. I hope that's been a useful introduction to the University of Nicosia. We're not really here to kind of, talk for hours in length. We can deal with a lot of your questions over email or individual video counselling sessions as well. And that's something we're very open to do, especially in these times where most people are remaining at home. The following next webinar will be on the 1st of April, and that will be looking at Maastricht University. We are then going to be releasing other webinars. Subjects and dates are going to be available on our Facebook page and also on the Medical Doorway website. There's a new section at the top, webinars. When you click on that, a pop-up comes with all links of webinars and then a link to actually sign up for that webinar as well. So if you are interested in learning more about other universities, do please keep an eye on that, especially the Facebook page where we'll be publishing all of our events, and then we'll be able to kind of connect very regularly and discuss different universities. Does Medical Doorway offer years of internships? I'm sorry, we don't. That's not what our role is. There are other organizations which do that. I'm not going to mention any on this video, but we can discuss other opportunities. There are various options, various organizations which offer students who are on gap years the opportunity to do internships. Unfortunately, you will have to pay for many of those opportunities as well. So those opportunities are there, but we don't offer those opportunities, I'm afraid. Someone's asked again, is the video available? Yes, once I've saved this video and edited it slightly, it will be going onto YouTube, onto our YouTube channel. So please do go to Medical Doorway on YouTube now, subscribe and sign up for notifications, and then you'll see this video as well as other videos that we've done before as well. How is it possible that individual counselling? Drop me an email, ben@medicaldoorway.com. And then we can then either pick up the phone or do a video conference call and arrange that at a suitable time for both of myself and you. And then we can arrange that based on your availability. So some people are signing out now. So anyway, I want to say thank you for your time. I hope this has been useful. It's our very first webinar in this series. More to come. Do keep an eye out on them. Definitely recommend signing up for the Maastricht University one. That's one of the more popular universities, and with now exams in July and August, we're going to have a lot more interest in that particular university. So please do take care, stay safe, and make sure you're following all the guidance for dealing with COVID-19 in your own country. And hopefully after all this has died down, many of you will have the opportunity to go and enroll in September this year or next year or in the future years and start your medical career. Best of luck to everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in any future webinars.